Was Dalaran always the first choice for the main city for Legion?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there was ever even a question. I think the opportunity to use Dalaran again was like, oh my god, yes, we would totally do that.
Yeah.
And then once we talked about the story options and how it would fit into the story and how much of a key part it plays, you know, in being able to repel the Legion, I think it was like...
And the characters and cultures that it brings with it, too. And those characters that are kind of intrinsic to Dalaran are play major roles throughout Legion as well. So there was, from very early stages, Dalaran was a part of the core narrative and a part of the land as well.
Awesome.
It's got that great way of unifying, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
it's like, you know, I think it feels great to say that it unifies the different people that we've met in the Broken Isles, and it made sense, right? It just, you know, as soon as we thought that we could use it, we're like, that would make so much sense.
Yeah.
And there's a secondary facet too, that Dalaran is almost its own character, and it's becoming that way.
Right.
And it's Dalaran has its own story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Leave it at that.
Okay. How did you like seeing it last night in the movie brought to life?
Oh, it was awesome. Super cool. I mean, that's actually one of the craziest parts about the movie is realizing these spaces that we've been building for years and years and years, and then seeing those in the actual on the screen is nuts. So seeing Elwyn Forest, I mean, and seeing Red Ridge, there's a scene you can 100% identify that it's Red Ridge. The Orc Warband is
exactly
coming across. There's the bridge, there's the dock on the left, and it's just seeing the care. Yeah.
Hey, this will go out on Friday. It's fine.
Seeing the care that Duncan put in to really, he's just said he's a huge WoW gamer, and it's been obvious since the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think just seeing the world stuff is huge.
Same with like Westfall. You can see the mechanical. I'm drawing a blank right now.
The harvesters.
Thank you, harvesters. Yeah. I'm like, what are they called?
Yep.
Yeah, you can see the harvesters, and you're like, yep, that's Westfall. You know?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Sorry, back on track. So obviously we're seeing changes in Dalaran since Northrend. So what was the thought process in retrofitting it so it would meet the Legion goals?
Oh man, tons of stuff. I mean, there's a huge part of Dalaran is where you interact with the artifact stuff there in the center core. You know, the new area that we built, that tower that's in the center. That's probably the biggest structural change. But then we had an opportunity to do new stuff with the sewers. So there's a huge PvP kind of event. Do you know about that happens in sewers? No. So there's the sewer can turn PvP. And then you can actually buy off the guards to protect you in PvP, which flips your PvP so that you can go down there. So it's this whole because we originally the sewers back in Northrend were going to be like we were going to do an arena, but it was going to actually be there. We ended up building the Dalaran sewer as a separate arena, but there was this huge idea back in the day that like the whole sewer of Dalaran was like this seedy underground like fight club kind of thing. Gotcha. So we were actually able to execute on that idea here to go along with some of our other stuff where we've got some of the artifact stuff built into it. The rogue area is built down into the underbelly as well.
Yeah.
And that just felt fitting.
Definitely.
Right? He's got these back doors where he can get into like different shops throughout Dalaran, and it just feels super rogue.
Right.
So, you know, we tried to embrace, I think, the things that felt like they made the most sense.
Okay.
And not jam stuff into it that felt out of place.
Right. Oh, that makes total sense. In Warlords, every zone had bonus quests. In Legion, now we're going to world quests.
Yep.
How similar or different are world quests than what we're used to in Warlords?
They're completely different. Like the concept of world quests totally different, right? They are max level like bonus quests were, but bonus quests where you did them and then they were done, right? You'd go and complete all the bonus quests. They had a great reward scheme. It was great to level up other characters, stuff like that. But world quests are designed to last for a really long time and to be randomized in a way that the content is not repeated.
Okay.
So we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of world quests that are spread across the game, and tons of different types of content, right? Solo, 3-player, 5-player, we have PvP, we have battle pets, we have professions, and then we even have raid stuff as well with the world bosses.
Nice.
All of that falls under the kind of umbrella of world quests.
Okay.
And then they're associated by faction to each individual zone. So if you're doing world quests in Val-Shara, you're earning faction with the Dreamweavers there, and then they have their whole own reward system. So, you know, over time, you can earn faction with each of the 5 zones and get rewards from those guys.
Gotcha.
So it's a very long tail system, right? It starts at 110. And then, I mean, we really see that going for months for players, pretty easy, and without you even seeing the same piece of content.
That's pretty amazing.
And then our hope is that we can continue to add content to that system over the course of the expansion.
Is there any concept of like rare world quests?
100%.
Okay.
There's totally rare world quests. Awesome. And you'll know when you see them that they're going to offer a unique piece of loot. You can see the loot that drops for world quest before you do it.
That's awesome. Can you talk anything about the pre-expansion event yet?
Totally. Do you want to hit that? The invasions? And
Yeah, I saw on the intro video it said demonic invasions, so is that kind of it?
So we did something a while back with Wrath. There's a little bit of similarity to when we launched Wrath of the Lich King. We did some invasion events that had ziggurats showing up in different places and small invasion events, and over a period of time that ramped up to we were assaulting cities and things. Mm-hmm. So similarly, all throughout Azeroth, we're going to start seeing Burning Legion presence start popping in. And these will be phased events that players will be drawn to. There's a little pier on your in-game map, and you'll be drawn to a place where there's an invasion happening, and they can happen at different scales. And over a period of weeks, they're going to ramp up in intensity. And this will ultimately conclude with our kappa for the pre-launch event, which is our attack on the Broken Shore.
Okay.
And so, over somewhere around a 4 to 6 week mark, we'll start. We'll ease you in with small invasions. They'll be scattered around, start popping up. By week 4, we'll have entire zones being consumed by Legion invasion. So it's a huge phase. We're phasing entire zones. We're running multiple layers of zones over the top of each other. So we're looking for, and these should be lucrative events too. You want to be here and you want to be getting in on the ground and getting in on this action. So as it escalates over time, there'll be whole regions of Azeroth that are coming under siege. And then we'll start seeing the big powers starting to move into place, starting to align with our attack on the Broken Shore, and then Legion launches.
Okay. Can you talk about a little bit more why it's lucrative? Like, why are people going to want to go and do this in multiple zones and see it all? Aside from it being cool, I mean, is there reasons to do it more than once and keep doing it over the course of the 4 to 6 weeks?
Well, I mean, you mean on reward structure?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we want to offer good rewards for that stuff, and then we generally always do a few unique things that you can only get if you did participate in the actual event, right?
Is it kind of like the armor that was it Wrath that you had the?
We've done armor, we've done tabards, we've done all kinds of different stuff. We're still trying to figure out what those items are going to be.
Okay. Yeah, right? So it's a little hard to be specific, but in some cases it is an opportunity, like we did in Wrath, where there's a window in there that gives us a bit of a catch-up boost as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And so these events can let us kind of get everyone kind of up to a similar level and then throw them in the Broken Shore.
Because at that point, it doesn't really matter. We can drop super high item level stuff because the new expansion is going to reset everything anyway.
Yeah.
So the ramp up of this, the whole thing, the whole process of this is just meant to be super fun, super engaging, escalating crisis to the point where we're all drawn to this singular place.
Is it most comparable to Wrath then, or is it comparable to even AQ and kind of how that event came out?
No, AQ is a completely different thing where there was the turn-ins, right? So like, it's using the idea is that those events kind of show up randomly in the zone. So you could almost think about it like the way the world quests where we're doing different stuff, right?
Gotcha.
So we have lots of different places that it can happen, and then it escalates. And I mean, it's like the whole deal. Like the sky changes. We've got Legion invading with buildings, and like we said, Westfall is not Westfall anymore, right? It's literally like an invasion zone.
Oh, nice.
So
we have Legion forces raining out of the sky, planting buildings growing out of the ground, and we're ultimately in there tearing down these structures and trying to stop this runaway freight train of Legion.
And it works like an event, like the way you would like scenario events would play out, right? Like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And is it happening just in main world Azeroth? Like we wouldn't see.
We're doing it in Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor.
Okay, so nothing in Warlords at all.
No.
Okay. Cool. So the story of Legion dives us right into searching for the Pillars of Creation.
Yep.
It took us a while to get kind of to that in the Legendary Ring quest line. So what are the next steps once we acquire the Pillars?
oh man, there's all kinds of stuff going on there
that you can talk about easily.
I mean, our overarching goal is to, shut down the Tomb of Sargeras, which is the portal through which the Legion is pouring into Broken Isles, right?
Right.
And collecting those seals is one of your ways to be able to do that, right? And that's going to lead into tons of other content, moving forward. But I think that still has to come, right? But this is, I'd say, your first step in unifying all the zones and the people there on the Broken Isles of what we need to do to achieve our goals comes with these as being that first step, right?
Okay.
And all of that plays out long term through the tomb. Like Tomb of Sargeras is going to be a big overarching piece of the world that's going to play into the future of what's going on here, right? And so that's just they're kind of like your keystones to get that started.
Gotcha. Sure. Okay. In Alpha, Wrathion was part of the High Totem quest line, but in Beta, he's been replaced by a new Black Dragon.
Yep.
Will we see Wrathion later endgame, considering he's been preparing us for Legion conflict since Mists?
I mean, I don't think there's currently another place that Wrathion's showing up, but that could be true. He could be in. I'm not overseeing every single quest guide that's put in content, but I remember when we took him out because it didn't feel appropriate for what was going on there. Like the way he was being used didn't fit in with the quest line that we were running. It just didn't feel right.
Gotcha.
Is why we pulled that.
Okay.
It just didn't feel like it was the right place. It felt out of place.
Okay.
And we don't it wasn't necessarily like that we had to jam him in somewhere else, because it's the concept that if it feels right, then we'll use it. But yeah, currently I don't think he's in another place.
Okay.
Elsewhere in the game.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for your time, guys. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all.